You're watching URI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
The wheel is turning and you can't slow down. You can't let go and you can't hold on. You can't go.
Hello and welcome back into my Wheelhouse. Tonight is the night of the national championship in the NCAA. We're winding down, somewhere between 6 and 10 games left, depending on the NBA team. It's April 2nd, I believe. Happy April Fools, belated. Anthony Davis didn't shave his unibrow, despite a video on April Fools. Although he kind of messed it up. He did the video on March 31st, and then people were freaking out, and he dropped his phone amid the video, so a lot of people were skeptical. It turned out he didn't shave it. A couple other things that weren't as sports-related. I think like Elon Musk pretended he was bankrupt, but there's some funny things. We got a lot to talk about. Got any trumps before we get to the wheel?
I really don't want to call him a chump, but I certainly saw. I think Vince Carter was way out of bounds with that hit on McCall.
Did you see how he reacted afterwards?
I know. That's why I said I don't really want to call him a chump because he was really contrite about what he did. But Kerr from the bench, I mean, God damn it! I mean, he knows better than that. And then as you keep seeing it, a veteran player like that, did it have anything to do with the takedown by Livingston earlier in the game? Or,
I just think he had a lapse of knowing what was going on.
Very dangerous play. Very dangerous play, throwing himself in like that. I think Whiteside was a bit of a chump with what he's come out with Spoelstra. My goodness, that team's poised and ready to play well, and he's in there all of a sudden bad mouthing like he's going to get out of town.
He's going to be out. He's going to be out.
I think so. I think they're getting rid of him eventually,
especially with their Backups. I mean, Bam looks great.
What did he say? A lot of teams could use a good center like me.
Right. He was basically talking himself up because he sits in the fourth quarter in clutch time of games because they like to play fast, they like to play small, and he's the opposite of that. And it makes sense that Kelly Olynyk and Bam Adebayo, like you say, have been playing great for them, and they've been helping. And when he's in the game, they're like a negative 5 net rating when he's on the court.
But he doesn't shoot bad free throws. Usually you bench your center when he shoots bad free throws, like DeAndre. He doesn't shoot bad free throws.
Right. Well, I think it's more so about his effect. Yeah, his effect. The type
he's missed a lot of time this year, so he's a little out of sync with the team.
Plus, he's a little bit of a bonehead too. So I mean,
I guess now I'm
he's walked back on the comments a little bit today. He spoke on how he felt a little bit regret on how they came out. And he was just frustrated, and obviously he wants to be on the floor, and maybe he voiced that in the wrong way.
My other chump is on the board. I'll wait till it spins.
All right, sounds good. So let's. You pretty much sealed that.
Wow.
So it was.
It's time to celebrate.
So it was 11-11, and you tied it, and it was just
picking those Celtics in those games was awesome.
You picked the Spurs. The tie-breaking game was you had the Spurs in 2 games. You had the Spurs who beat Houston and the Spurs who beat OKC. And both me and Sloan picked OKC and Houston, so that's what sealed it.
I had some talk yesterday with Matt and Dan about the potential which T-shirts I should be looking at.
Yes.
You're all set. Okay. Sloan, I got a couple. I'm down to a couple with him, but yours is coming.
That's
so I'll deliver it next week, and then
what is this going to be, like a chump shirt?
You're going to wear it on the show the week after, all right?
Yeah, that's what happens.
I can't wait to see this.
I think, okay, so what we're going to do, now that you've sealed it now, we're going to blend the remaining weeks with the playoff bracket.
And have a second
So the second competition for medals begins this week. Okay?
All
understood?
Right.
All right,
well, next week's an odd one, because how many games are there next week?
There's 2 days worth of games.
Only a couple.
Maybe 13
Season's
games.
coming, screeching hard.
I was on a roll there for a while. I thought I was catching up to you.
Well, a roll for a very short period.
Big day. Just to keep wearing it.
Uncle Mike, what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I've been wanting to talk about this for a couple of weeks. I even contact her with my ideas, and they just don't come. So I think they've got quite a story with what's happened with UConn and URI in basketball in terms of the coaching positions. And about 2 weeks ago, I would have floated this, and Denise would verify it, is that I was floating Rick Pitino for the URI job. And it's starting to come now. Bill Reynolds floated in his column on Saturday. There was a letter to the editor calling for Rick Pitino to be. I believe he still owns a home in East Greenwich. He's always wanted to, and I think at this time in his career, at 65 years old, with the baggage that he's carrying, that him and Matt, but they hired Jim Harrick. and they took Lamar Odom. And and right now they're in a position. So that whole picture there was very intriguing to me. Why Hurley would ever take the UConn job? How bad that league is in terms of travel for UConn?
Right.
How much is centered in Texas and all of that? Whether he's going to succeed, but and also the Gino Auriemma, where they were starting to be talk again about whether Auriemma would even apply for that job at UConn and whether he would be successful there. So I thought that was a pretty good thing, good topic.
Auriemma he talks very ambiguously about it, but you can tell that he's the underlying aspect that he thinks is that I'm not going anywhere. He doesn't want to say that
he's getting older.
Right. He doesn't want to say that I'm going to coach the women's team forever and there's no way I want to coach men's basketball, because you can tell that probably before he was the coach of UConn women's that he probably had aspirations to become a men's coach. But once he
had a lot of aspirations. I saw him interviewed. He was talking about I've given up on a lot of other dreams in life, and it's wow, that's weird. You're one of the most celebrated women's basketball coaches ever.
He's a men's coach to study. Him and Phil Martelli are very close friends. They're Philly guys. Jack Ramsey, Hall of Fame coach, is Martelli's father-in-law.
Right.
And so they're connected. And Auriemma is really tied together. They started coaching together, him and Martelli, as they were coming up. And so that. And there's something to be said about Philly ball and the caliber of coaches that come out of there, the type of players that come out of there.
Interesting to go back to what you said in terms of just comparing and judging URI versus UConn, especially with the recent years of the rise of URI and its national recognition, the kind of the swag that they have, not only as play style that Hurley has been implementing with the players that they have. I love their jerseys and their MO that they have, and then additionally the declining perspective on UConn and the firing of several coaches and decommitted from players. 5-star recruits have left after committing. And you would think that Hurley would like to stay
and Rhode Island stepped up.
Continue to build that brand.
Rhode Island was up to $2 million a year with them.
Right.
And I think UConn's giving them more, but not that much more. These guys, they're really looking to step up the ladder, and as a career, for the career, he's young enough where he's looking to do that. But I think he may have made a mistake.
I think he may have made a mistake. We'll see.
I'm not sure.
But maybe he can help UConn return to some type of relevance. I mean, I love UConn. I think that in my career of NCAA fandom, UConn has probably reached the biggest peak for me, so I root for that.
They've won 4 national championships in 20 years.
Right, and I mean, a lot of it has to do with that with Logan. I mean, he attended there.
And Matt went there.
Right, you guys went there, and that's why I root for them.
graduated from there, and it was a good. It's been a good story for a long time. But I have a hard time recruiting. I think he is a good recruiter. But when you think of that league and where they are spread and how much is in Texas. I mean, how are you going to recruit kids from Texas to come to UConn to play in that schedule? And they're looking for rivalries. Matt told me this story where they which Florida is in there. Central Florida is in their league, and so UConn was trying to. They were calling it the conflict game or something. And they were playing at UConn. And they had this big trophy they were going to give to the winner because it was going to be a new rivalry. So if Central Florida wins, they're out to have to go with the trophy, and the coach just goes, "I don't want anything to do with that." Right there, right on the court. Says, "This ain't a rivalry. Are you kidding me? We beat you guys. You guys stink." And that was their attitude towards this rival. So that league is really a tough one to step into.
What do you think? Do you want Pitino back on the coaching bench?
I don't think Pitino wants that coach.
He wants to coach bad.
I think he does.
Here though?
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't see.
He's
in the biggest little state in the union.
Check out his conversation.
I know he wants to coach. I know he wants to come back, but I don't know if he wants to come to URI. I don't know if that's something he has interest in.
He loved Rhode Island. One of the great college coaching jobs of all time that you guys missed, but I was lucky enough to get was Pitino coaching Providence College to the Final Four with Billy Donovan, the Pillsbury Doughboy that wasn't sharp. He had a starting center who was straight out of Central Falls High School. Averaged 9 points a game for Central Falls High School, which is lowest division in Rhode Island. His name was Jacek Duda. He started as a center on that Final Four. That's the job. It was the first year of the three, and Pitino was ready. He had them all doing all the drills. Pop Lewis and David Kipfer. These they could really fight. Delray Brooks came in from Indiana, but it was a very unbelievably coached team. He'll always be remembered in Rhode Island for that team. He'll always be revered, no matter what baggage he has.
Do you think he's coming back to college basketball in the next year?
No. I think he wants to.
Okay.
He has to. He's 65 years old.
Coming back this year?
He's not coming back.
I don't think he's going to come back. I think he has too much baggage, and despite him having the desire to coach, I don't think that a matchup is going to happen where an organization in a school that is willing to take on that adversity that will come with having him on their staff in addition to him being able to fit and be able to
At
be in a
this stage
situation
of his
where
career,
I don't know.
15 years ago, maybe.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
you know.
I've called
I
him
think we
Slick
stand-
Rick for a long time, but in my mind, he'll always be one of the great coaches of all time. And when I was starting to coach, he was just coming out of Syracuse as an assistant, and I went to a clinic at Dean Junior College for 3 days, and it was with Pitino and the Dean Junior College basketball team, and the stuff that I taught for the rest of my career that I got from
based
those
off
3
that.
days there with Pitino.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable on man-to-man defense and attack. A real technical guy, tremendous coach.
Maybe we can talk about more if he gets hired.
I think he's going to be hard.
We'll see. Boston Celtics
Okay.
have looked pretty good as of late, despite
Well,
our-
and last week when you said they were great, and I said they really weren't.
Yeah.
This week I got to correct you on pretty good. But they're amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They were great.
I mean, we got 2 incredible wins on a depleted Celtics roster against the Utah Jazz and the Toronto
Unbelievable.
Raptors more so. We played great in both those games. Brad has reaffirmed himself atop the Coach of the Year standings.
Not even a question.
But for a period there, Dwayne Casey had an argument. I mean,
Absolutely.
I always
Absolutely.
had, I always
Still
had
an
Brad as the top of the thing, but it was reasonable to have an argument for Dwayne Casey. But we saw some interesting strategical coaching moves by him in the recent games. They went zone defense in the final 5 minutes of both those.
Yeah, 2-3.
Jazz-
That
both the
was
Jazz
really
game really
freaking
threw a
them
wrench-
out.
Really threw a wrench in the spokes of their bicycles, and they
How
didn't know
about
what
the
was going on.
no-guard lineup with Semi Ojeleye
Yeah.
was the smallest guy on the floor.
Yeah, Tatum
And
was
they
the point
didn't
guard.
even-
Tatum was the
and
point
they
guard.
didn't even have Horford in there, who they were using before. So they actually had Monroe and Tatum and Brown
Right.
and Semi Ojeleye and Morris.
You could tell that,
And they were playing the game
You could
like
tell that
that.
Toronto was completely thrown off, and their matchups and their switches are all
So-
confused, and you could tell that we really threw
So
them
now
off.
they're calling them Brad's boys. And, we searched for nicknames for Brown and Tatum, and their surface now is JB and JT. That's what they go by inside their team. JB and JT is what
That's
they
a pretty
go by.
obvious one.
And they've been amazing. One thing on Brad at the Utah game and last week me and Sloan were kind of like really antsy about whether this team. I said they wouldn't be favored to any series. I'm certainly feeling different now, and it's because how do you underestimate Brad Stevens? But he's awesome. And in that game, what I saw that was different from him in Utah is when they were. Each of these games, they've had bad periods. Except for the last game against Toronto. They played pretty good wire to wire, Toronto. But Utah, when they were playing bad, he is yelling from the bench, "Wake up!"
Yeah.
He's going to
Oh,
his
yeah, I
team.
saw that, yeah.
And I never saw that element of Brad Stevens, but you know that is there.
He's
where
getting on his guys.
there's a
He's getting
way
on his
to
guys.
play, and he is holding it. He might be missing ice cream. He might be Harry Potter. But he's not. He's really tough with what he wants and how he wants them to play.
He's got to get on them. Sometimes they're dribbling around in circles
Yep.
and they're not really running anything. They're so afraid of turning the ball over that they're not actually trying to set up a play. And it's really frustrating to watch. So
Yeah.
it's good that he's asserting
And
himself
it's
a
really,
little bit.
it's really, Rozier, as great as he has been, he's got some of those limitations in terms of developing a play and making it like that. And they asked Jalen Brown about that, and he said, well, part of it is that when things aren't going right, you kind of get the individual urge to try to take care of things yourself. And he said you're constantly fighting that on the floor when you've had a couple bad possessions that this time when you get it, well, I really got to do something for the team. I got to do something. And instead of staying with that system with a good spacing and the ball is moving side to side. But
Player roles, even with these injuries where we need
Unbelievable.
players to be able to step up, it seems that everyone understands it. Even when you think you're coming into watching a game, you're going to say, how does Larkin know what his contributions need to be? With maybe Nader aside, I think everyone is
Nader's
filling
had
in
his
properly.
moments, though.
I don't think he's had any moments. I
I think he's had some moments.
He makes an occasional three, and then all of a sudden,
Well, he plays
4
hard.
plays later, he's
plays hard
had
on
4
the-
consecutive terrible plays.
Yeah, but I think
He
he
gets
plays hard
after it
like
out there.
inefficiently. Like he plays hard like diving for loose balls, not near the ball. Like I don't know. Like I just don't like.
Nader, I think, is like 1 step forward, 5 steps back.
Yes, that's
Well,
exactly
He's the
what
worst player on the court all the time.
It's really frustrating.
I know, and I've been there with him too. But I
Blind
think he's played
faith in
better.
him. I don't
think he's played
understand.
better in the last couple games. Brad's still got confidence in him. And
I don't know if he has.
He was bad. And
Well,
technical game, he was bad.
Me and Logan were talking, in every situation where he's on the court, wouldn't you rather have either Larkin or Semi on the floor? And couldn't
Yes.
either one of those replace whatever you think he's offering? couldn't one of those two guys, even though they're a little bit different positionally, I understand that he's between those in terms of just a swing. Wouldn't you rather have one of those other guys either playing smaller or playing bigger than having Nader on the floor? Semi's just as much as a spot-up three-point threat as Abdel Nader is.
I agree with all of that.
He can guard anybody that Nader can guard.
Yeah.
One thing Steve
why
has
would
done-
he ever have him in?
Quicker off the dribble.
All of that is true. But I mean, why nitpick? If he's going to play a little bit and he's got confidence, and Brad's giving him that confidence, and he's going to keep giving him little bits of time. He doesn't get that much time. They had depleted enough where they needed body. Against Utah, they needed him, and they started Gurusson, Ubaseli.
He's going to the G League. Next year he's
He's
G
a
League.
G League All-Star. One
of the things that I find pretty intriguing about is how quick the guys that are injured have come back and they plug right back in. Jaylen Brown's out with a concussion coming. He plays good right away. Smart's out for punching the frame. He comes back. He plays good right away. Horford comes out. I was feeling real bad, but I'm thinking right now that the same thing's going to happen with Kyrie.
Well, it's bringing him back at the right time.
Right.
Well, but they've got a system in place that they all know how they fit inside that system. So they know there's no getting back and getting used to how they play. And another thing that was a masterful thing by Stevens is when everything went south and they lost everybody, his attitude was, we're playing today. I am not thinking about, how do I work this out? And maybe I'll try this, maybe I'll try that. We know what we got. We know what players we got. We're going out there and we're playing. He never backed off from it at all. He stayed right with the plan all the way. And there was a lot of adversity there with those injuries. Starting Gurusson.
I mean, the people that needs to step up are stepping up. We see young
Marcus
players.
Morris. He's been so great.
I don't think he's ever played better.
He's been great.
Offensively, he's played well, and he's had some stints defensively. I
never thought he was this good offensively.
Has anybody ever been ejected in between?
My favorite ejection I've ever seen.
And he lost his free, when he sprained his ankle the game before, he made sure he got out there and took his 3 foul shots before he limped to the locker room.
No, that was
he's
great.
out there and he gets ejected in between
He got a standing O for getting ejected. That was fantastic. Well, maybe the best
they're looking at our roster like, who are we going to bring in to shoot this one? This guy at the bottom, they brought in Jabari Bird, right?
No, I'd rather have Jabari Bird than Nader.
One of the strengths of that team, and Stevens has done it, and he's done it with Nader too, is that one of the strengths is that the young players, they have been assimilated into the NBA game very quickly, so that they are not feeling their way around and questioning whether they play. And Tatum and Brown keep getting better. The games that Tatum has played, he's played incredibly well. And when you see how decisive he is with his moves now, he's making Paul Pierce moves, shots off the dribble that are quick and decisive, and full court attacks, and I'm amazed. And I give Al Horford a lot of credit too with the way he can handle that ball. He actually is an option when they don't have any other point guards to give it. They gave it to him full court. But remember the one where he backed it all the way down the court and scored?
He was a full backup.
That's talent.
Morris can take it up too.
We've seen that basically everyone. It was only like 2 times, but Semi brought the ball. So
I don't think that many teams have like a top to bottom
play initiators.
It's pretty wild.
What have you seen from Tatum and Jaylen in the recent games?
I mean, Tatum, he's amazing. Tatum is. I've said it before. I think he's a future MVP.
He's looking awful.
3 to 5 years, I say he's better than Kyrie. I say he's the best player on the Celtics, and
he's got a ceiling.
I see Durant's game. I think he's similar to Durant.
What a beautiful shooter.
It's perfect. His release is high, quick.
In every aspect, whether it's catch and shoot, whether it's off the dribble, whether it's deep, whether it's a mid-range shot.
Attacking the rim, everything. He's got everything.
He really seems to. And he's been almost like holding back. That's why I say he's now assimilated into it.
Yeah, it's almost it's like perfect for his game for Kyrie being out. He's being more aggressive.
First Hayward's out and opens up for him. And now this opens it up for him again, and he rises again.
He's proven to be more and more clutch offensively in recent games, and now we're beginning to see more consistency, especially in the fourth quarter defensively from him as well. And Jaylen's had that all year, but now we're seeing this defensive acumen from Tatum that it looks great, and it's going to help a lot. And something that I've been toggling with, thinking about the Raptors guys between Lowry and DeRozan, and if there comes a scenario where we match up with them, it would have to be in the conference finals. So I don't know if they would be there or if we would meet up. But I don't think it's crazy to think that we would have 2 players that could absolutely outplay their 2 players, and maybe that doesn't include Kyrie Irving. I think that Jaylen and Tatum might be able to outplay DeRozan and Lowry. I'm not saying that right now they're better than them, because right now they're not.
I can't understand how the bench is as good as it is, and I think it goes back to Shea a long time ago where I was high on Miles. I mean, he was 0 for 6 in that game, and you were kind of, what you said about him being erratic. I don't see how those players, when you actually list Podol and Van Fleet and as their bench, how they accomplished so much this year?
Well, Van Fleet's played out of his mind this whole second half. Yeah. He's really come out of nowhere.
He's consistently average.
Van Fleet, he's played really well this second half. Their centers have played really well. Ibaka and Valenzuela. That's going to be an issue for the
Kara had third row seats.
I saw that game. Shout out Kara.
She was on TV a lot.
What was it? I mean,
she said Valanciunas is a real crybaby.
Yes, he is. That's what she was telling me that too. The thing about the Toronto's success and how much is hinged on the strong play of their depth, which is absolutely one of the biggest cogs in their number 1 seed right now, is that rotations shorten up in the playoffs. And not necessarily theirs, but other teams' rotations shorten up in the playoffs. And one of the biggest reasons for their success and why this lineup of CJ Miles, Siakam, Van Vliet, and Portal, and whoever the fifth guy, OG or whoever it may be, has succeeded so much is because of the unity, the chemistry that they show. They're all playing average to above average level. They play hard defense, but most of the time it's coming against the scrubs of another team that maybe have one initiator, seem confused on defense, and more often than not they can rise above those teams. But once they get into the playoffs, those lineups are going to include maybe 2 of those players, and the other 3 are going to be filtered in with starters. And instead of playing Jose Calderon and a bunch of bums on the Cleveland bench, it's going to have maybe every starter except for LeBron to go against that team, and they're going to be able to struggle more. People saying that, okay, but they're going to be able to keep this depth going into the playoffs because of how good they are. I don't think they're going to be able to do that because they're going to have to adjust with the other teams with what adjustments they throw at them.
That argument also works against the Celtics too, because we're not, the Celtics aren't going to be thriving with people like Nader and.
But Morris will be
that's what I'm saying. We're gonna play Horford. I mean, Horford is maybe an exception in terms of team's best or second best player for maxing up to 40 minutes per game. But once Kyrie gets healthy, Jalen can absolutely play 40 plus. We have Terry can play 40 plus. These players that can take a bigger offensive load with more rest in between games, more time to study the opponent, and we could give Nader 0 minutes because we're going to be siphoning those out.
Kyrie is healthy for the first.
It's almost like
round.
they just won a playoff series where they went out and they beat Portland, they beat OKC, they beat Toronto, and they beat Utah in the span of 7 games.
Awesome wins.
Depleted. So now, why can't they beat these other teams? I was wrong about that.
Yep.
They actually can beat them.
Moving
on
forward.
Your point about the subs, I think it's an interesting point because when you're looking at the 82-game season, every team has virtually the same rotation in terms of the minutes that the starters go out, the subs go in, and when they come back in. And that's right on target with what you're saying, because in the playoffs, now it's going to be different. And the teams that were good off the bench before matching up with players, there's going to be different matchups because they're not, again, the minutes are going to tighten.
Right. Instead of Van Vliet and Siakam defending
2:30 left in the first
defending
quarter.
Jason Terry and Sterling Brown, they're now going to be defending Jabari Parker and Giannis. So I mean, it's just like everything changes when you get to the playoffs. I understand that these guys have played well, but they're young, and I don't know whether that style is going to continue, and if it does, I don't know whether it's going to be successful. Moving forward, the Celtics have 6 games left. 3 are against playoff teams. 3 are against non-playoff teams.
1 more against Raptors.
We got tomorrow against Milwaukee. We got a Wednesday back-to-back against the Raptors, but the Raptors will also be coming off a back-to-back, a tougher back-to-back off of Cleveland. They play Cleveland tomorrow away at the Cavs. So it should be interesting to see how we can manage these games. If we can string together a 4-2, including a win over the Raptors, where the Raptors also have 6.
Will we get the tiebreaker?
Yes. Right now it's tied.
If we beat them
we beat them one more time. We beat them one more time. So moving forward, the Raptors also have 6 games left, but 5 of which are against playoff teams. So they have a tougher schedule moving forward, including the final game of their season is against the Heat. So they're going to have more teams vying for position. They're going to be trying and putting out a greater effort. Well, right now we're 2 games back, and I'm not going to say that we could take the number 1 seed, but the path to the number 1 seed is there.
They go in and they play Cleveland. They get beat by Cleveland. We're playing for the top spot the next night.
Exactly. That's very true. Yeah. If we beat Milwaukee, they lose to the Cavs. When we play them, we could tie them for the number 1 seed with a victory over them on Wednesday.
And
Did you
Milwaukee
see
could be-
the Starters podcast was surmising that maybe Washington is tanking right now to try to get the 7 to play against the Celtics at the 2
Yeah, I saw
without
that.
Kyrie?
I think their game.
I think Washington just sucks right now.
I like them.
Have you
I
seen-
like
did you
how they were
watch
playing
them?
without Wall.
Did you watch them? Wall. I actually.
No, they're doing.
So
really bad
they're
right
still
now.
they're still unusual, and you could tell that Wall is trying to adjust to this new style that's more of a pass-heavy offense that's
has
not
been
just centered
successful.
on him. And in the first game back, I saw that he kind of fit in. He was playing off ball more
played the
often.
first game, he played well.
Saturansky was handling the ball with Wall in the game.
That's the tough fit
Beal
there.
was initiating pick and roll with Wall off ball in the corner, and it wasn't happening a lot. But I saw signs that Wall might be able to play in the style that
should be
they've been
able to.
implementing.
He's the best player. He should be able
I mean, he's
to.
phenomenal.
So then
They're
the ball
big
should be in
threat.
his hand. If he's the best player, the ball should be in his hands.
It's just funny
I
how
love how
they
Saturansky's played.
It's funny how he was out, and
care about
they
that
were
duck
talking
pudding
about
guy.
how it's like an everybody eats mentality. It's like
Stupid.
everybody eats with him.
Yeah,
He's-
that's the reason everyone
He
eats
has
him.
like 20 assist games.
Yes.
We can spin it. We have a lot to look forward to in terms of playoff matchups.
tanking.
Why do you say that? What do you mean
Because you
tanking?
emailed me again and said and pointed out the tank, and then when I'm looking at teams, I'm seeing games that obviously weren't tanked with teams that are supposed to be tanking, beating better teams.
I think
and
Uncle
when
Mike
I look at the
says
team's
tanking in his
records,
sleep.
when I look at Chicago's records in the last 10 games, they won 4 of them. When I look at it, they're playing the same now as they played when they weren't tanking.
Yeah, but they're not trying to win. That's the hilarious part.
So
That's
what
the
were they
hilarious
doing the
part.
rest of the season when they were winning the same percentage of games? Not
weren't-
trying the whole season?
They're not trying to win. I mean, the Bulls just shut down Larry Markin and Chris Dunn.
But even when I hear Washington,
Hall of Fame.
I mean,
The
it's
Hall of
just-
Fame.
Break it up.
Okay.
Break it up.
We got 13 inductees to the Hall of Fame. Most notably,
13, yeah,
way too many. Way too many. It's becoming watered down. They just let anyone who holds a basketball
Turnstiles.
in. Most notably and most deservedly so, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Ray Allen, Grant Hill, and Mo Cheeks. Also included Dino Raja, Rod Thorne, Ora Mae Washington, Tina
Charlie
Thompson,
Scott. Don't forget Charlie
Katie
Scott.
Smith, Charlie Scott, Rick Welts, and Lefty Driesel.
Lefty Driesel.
So,
Lefty Driesel.
yeah, who the heck is that? Why is he in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know half of
Well,
those.
why is
people in
Lefty
the Hall of
Driesel?
Fame, and I don't know half of those
Yeah,
people.
tell me one sentence about Lefty Driesel.
He was Len Bias's coach at Maryland.
Okay,
okay.
Just
So he's a
you
coach,
know.
he's a coach, okay.
Just so you know that. But
Okay,
he-
that's all I
he's
care about
not-
Lefty Driesel.
No,
Tell me
no,
one sentence
he
about Rick
coached them,
Welts. Rick Welts. One sentence about Rick Welts.
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know how do you spell his name.
Welts,
How is he in the Hall of Fame if you don't know who he is?
Well, I didn't say I was
One
going to
sentence
verify
about-
him. I'm saying Lefty Driesel.
I know,
He's
that's
a
why I'm saying there's
legendary,
too many.
he's a legendary coach.
Good, I'm glad he's in. One sentence about Charlie Scott.
Well, Charlie Scott, Charlie Scott had some really strong years before he came to the Celtics, where he was averaging 25 a game.
On
He's
what
one of the
team?
gr-
On what team?
I think it was Phoenix.
What year?
Way back,
maybe late 70s.
Late 70s, averaged 25 a game for Phoenix. Katie
Okay.
Smith. Who's Katie Smith?
Really strong years makes the NBA Hall
Yeah,
of Fame.
yeah.
That's
Well,
insane.
Like, was Charlie Scott ever like an all-star? Like, I mean, like, why
He
are
was
these people in?
Listen. You also got to consider the whole body of work that the Hall of Fame
It's
isn't
basketball
just the
resume.
NBA.
It's full basketball
He was a
resume.
great college player.
Okay.
All his teammates will say he was a tremendous player. I mean, Charlie Scott was a real good player. And when the Celtics talk about it, I would question Dino Raja.
Okay.
Dino Raja played 240 games in his career.
But the thing about him is,
So is he just a manager?
isn't he in for his full body of work?
What
Basketball
is
work.
his full body of work?
Successful
He's a
international,
European-
successful
that's it.
international
What?
play.
That's what it is.
Successful what?
He won 2 EuroLeague championships.
2 EuroLeague champions.
I mean, I'm just saying that's the criteria that they use. They do
That's
full,
what I'm saying.
full
So
body.
I would
It's
question
interesting.
Dino Raja before
I mean,
would
I question
Lefty
all of
Driesel.
these names besides the first 5 people I said.
Well,
Besides
because
Nash,
I
Kidd,
question
Ray Allen,
everybody.
Grant Hill, and Mo
I do,
Cheeks.
and I-
Why are any of those people
Yeah,
deserving?
I
no,
question
I-
everybody but the top 3. I question
Wait,
Grant Hill.
Really? What? Why do you question Grant Hill?
Because
I question that
he had his
too.
4 years, and then he got injured, and he was never a high-level player after he got injured.
Okay, but before that, he had a 29-7-7 season.
But it's only it's his first
That's
4
one
years in the
season
league.
now.
Okay, but
He was after his
I
injury. He was a
understand.
legit
But
NBA
it was
player.
not-
We're
but it
always
was not
knocking
a
somebody
championship team.
for-
He had 4 strong years. He got injured, and he was never the same player.
he was never the same player because the player he was before his injury was looking like a
amazing,
perennial
yeah.
future MVP. Afterwards, he was still a borderline all-star for a couple of
But
years.
we had to watch him play 10 years where he was not that good of a player.
Not that good of a player being borderline. I think that your
wasn't
expectations
even-
were just
it wasn't
diminished
even
because
an
he came
all-star.
back.
I mean, if you look at like baseball Hall of Fame, football Hall of Fame, how hard it is
Much
to get
more-
in.
much more strict.
And then you look at Grant Hill, who was always injured, and it seems like we always knock people for getting injured. We knock them for their MVP chances, their All NBA chances, and then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, go ahead, Grant Hill, you can go in with Jason Kidd. I mean, you got a Rookie of the Year with him.
Well, he's
back in the
he's
day.
got the college resume. He's got
Grant Hill.
Yeah, I'm just looking
Yes, he does.
the
But
following.
He succeeded in the Olympics.
But
It's just
I
like the
think
following 12 names on this list sort of
But I separate
delegitimizes
him
the
from Jason
greatest
Kidd
three-point
and,
shooter.
and Steve Nash and
Two of the best
and
point
Ray
guards
Allen.
ever.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'm saying those three stand alone to me.
Well,
Ray Allen,
that's why
Steve
when
Nash.
whenever it's talked about, those are the only three people that are said.
Yeah,
They
and even-
they say the headliners.
As much as I love Mo Cheeks, he averaged,
is he
he averaged
even a
11
Hall of
points. He
Fame?
averaged 11 points a game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if he deserves to be in
But
there.
he's got the coaching thing.
He didn't do much. As a
Yeah, but he
coach.
wasn't that successful. It's
He
just that he had
had
them.
some world championship teams. I
Right.
don't know whether he
Well,
played.
it's interesting. I think that the reason because it's so watered down is because of how early in the NBA's lifetime the Hall of Fame came in. If you look at the MLB's Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame, from the start of the league to the point of when the Hall of Fame was instituted is a bigger range from when the NBA came in and when the NBA put their Hall of Fame in. Because when the NBA was founded in the late 40s or whatever it is, late 50s, and then when they founded the Hall of Fame, they had to let people in immediately. And the only crop that they had to choose from, it was a high select few, but they wanted to include lots of people. And that created this bar for future judgment of the players that they were potentially putting in. And they're like, well, obviously this guy's better than this person we put in. Like, I think that they should get let in. And then it was a snowball effect that over the years became more and more dangerous with the people that we were letting in.
Mitch Richmond is in the Hall of Fame.
I like Mitch Richmond. I like Mitch Richmond. I like Mitch
Well, you
Richmond.
can like him and not
He's
put
an
him in the Hall
all-star.
of Fame.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
love him
it's
up
okay.
with
So
those things.
I think that
I think one thing that's happened inside of the NBA, and I agree with what you just said, is the women's game. You don't see the women's game in the NFL, and you don't see the women's game, and that
That's
waters
true.
it down quite a bit. So
That's
you're
true.
seeing women's coaches, women's. I think you said
I
Katie.
th- but I
Did you say
think-
Katie
I
Smith?
said Katie Smith.
Well,
Who's
so,
that?
So you're seeing
Who's Katie
women's
Smith?
players.
Do you know who Katie Smith is?
She's a women's player.
Yeah.
I think she played for
What about
Ohio
Tina
State.
Thompson? Who's Tina Thompson?
I know Tina Thompson.
I know
She was
Tina
on,
Thompson.
I don't know who that is.
She won.
Yeah, but
probably the
but-
first three titles.
But when you start,
Yeah.
But when you start saying it's the same old thing, like when I was talking with Dan, where I can't talk about the racial issues on the show. I really get myself in trouble talking about the gender issues too. But when you say Tina Thompson and Ray Allen, come on,
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, I
and
think
they're both in the same Hall of Fame, but it's
But
got
I
contribution.
I
They
actually
both
find
meant as much to the
Yeah,
sport
it's- yeah,
for
I
their
agree with that.
respective
I find that's
places.
not the same.
I find that
course
when I'm judging the women that I see when I go to the Springfield Hall of Fame, when I see the women in there, I find that it seems like they're being more strict with the women players that they're allowing in, and maybe they're doing a better job at weeding out which women are allowed in or not. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, and I think they should legitimately look into blowing up the Hall of Fame and going back in and reinstituting every person again. That would be hilarious.
The Hall of Fame is a wonderful place. And
No, I mean, not like getting rid of the actual physical Hall of
right.
Fame. I'm talking about the people in it.
Your Uncle Dan's college coach. Your Uncle
He ends
Dan's
up on a list.
Your Uncle Dan's college coach was the director of the Hall of Fame, Joe O'Brien.
Okay.
And one year he got us tickets, and we went. And it was an amazing
Oh,
event.
I love it there. It's
Oh, it was
fantastic.
the way
that it's managed
everybody
is
has
beautiful.
a ticket goes down the red carpet. You're
Yeah.
walking down the red carpet with Tommy Heinsohn, and then you're sitting there, and there's not that many tables, and you're sitting there, and one table over from us was Wilt Chamberlain, and Matt, your cousin Matt, he actually got up out of his seat, walked over to Wilt Chamberlain, and asked him to sign something, and Wilt Chamberlain signed
No,
it.
like the Hall of Fame
It
itself
was
is a
really quite an
fantastic
event.
place. We're not talking about the actual Hall of Fame. I think
And then
I
to
think
go to the Hall
I
of
think
Fame is
structurally
boring.
and
I like
like
the
how.
Basketball Hall of Fame better than I like the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I think it's not even a question. The
not
actual
boring.
physical Hall of Fame is, I think the basketball one has the best one in terms of how it's laid
hands-on.
out and how you're cycled through the full.
So what are you talking
the full
about blowing
resume.
up?
I'm talking about blowing up the people who are in
Who's
it.
in
The
at
people
the
who are in it,
process?
how they let
You
people
mean
in.
kicking people
I'm talking about blowing up Rod
get
Ford
him out.
and Rick Welts. You don't even know who Rick
and
Welts
picking
is.
5 people to go.
Some person named Lef-
with this list, you know who's a lock now that you don't want in? Carmelo. Lock.
Yes,
Yes, but that's not even like Carmelo would be the fifth most legitimate
that's
person.
what I'm saying.
I mean,
Hey, before we get off the topic, who's going to come to Ray Allen's film? You think the guys are going to come?
oh come, he's been in the press a lot. He wrote a book.
He's really been in the press a lot.
What do you think about Chris Webber not making the Hall of Fame again, getting snubbed again? These guys are in. He should be in.
He'll get in
I
eventually.
think Chris Webber should be in the Hall of Fame.
Rod Ford's in.
Especially with all the work that he's
I
doing in
like
the
Chris
media.
Webber better than I
He's
like
become kind
Bill.
of one of the favorites on the TNT broadcast.
I don't think he does that great of a job, though.
No, people love him, though.
Yeah, people love him for some reason.
I'm not saying I love him.
Yeah.
But he's become one of the favorites.
Yeah, all right, spin the wheel.
When he made his big goof and
Maybe that's why
the extra
the timeout is why he hasn't been let
everybody
in.
thought he was a doofus.
Technical
you know?
foul!
And
Technical
he ends up
foul!
being really
Technical
good.
foul! Technical foul!
I already had mine.
Yes, we're not letting you say something again. All right, stats quiz. All right, so I was fooling around on Basketball Reference Player Index, just going through a bunch of random stats, qualifiers, and finding interesting things. So in NBA history, there's been 38 games where players have recorded at least 20 points, 5 steals, and 5 blocks. I'm looking for any of the 5 players that have done it more than once. There's 4 guys. There's 4 guys who have done it 3 times, 2 times, and 2 times, and there's 1 guy who has done it 21 times. Only 2 of these 5.
It was blocks, 20
points, 5 steals, 5 blocks.
Bill Russell.
No, they don't record blocks and
they
steals.
didn't
Were not
really.
recorded.
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade is not.
But he's close.
He had 1 game like that. But so there's 2 players that are currently in the NBA, both big men. The other 3 players, one's a guard, and the other 2 are bigs. No one before.
Has Jokic done
No
it?
one from the '90s. No. We got
The dream.
yeah.
He was my first guess. I kind of cheated. I was
talking
him
about
last
he helped
night.
me.
That is definitely cheating.
But I guessed it last night. I guessed he was my first
Well,
guess.
Hakeem Olajuwon has 21 games where he scored 20 points, 5 steals, and 5 blocks.
That's crazy.
That's remarkable.
Wow.
That is
the
really
other-
definitely a wow on that.
Some of the other names.
Best defensive player maybe ever.
David Robinson had 3 such games. That's the disparity. David Robinson is the next highest, and he had 3. Michael Jordan had 3, and the 2 players currently one.
Larry.
Embiid, Giannis.
No, you're on the right path. One is in his prime now. One is dwindling, but recently had a 30-30 game.
Not Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard has had 2 25 and 5
God.
games. I don't understand why you're
steals.
surprised. Dwight Howard.
Steals.
5 steals.
Dwight Howard is a
He's
shoe-in for
very
the Hall of
active
Fame
on-
too.
Yeah, well,
That's-
5 steals.
that's surprising, wow.
And then
wouldn't have thought he's done that many times in his career, 5 steals. So
The final one is Anthony Davis, who had 2.
Wow.
All right,
Makes
move into a different one. There are 34 games in NBA history where a player has recorded 10 or more 3-pointers. There are only 3 who have done it more than once. 2 of them are pretty easy.
2 of them are what?
2 are very.
2 of them are easy.
Ray
3-point
Allen.
shooters.
Wait, Curry?
Nope.
Yeah.
Steph Curry has got more than
Klay
10
Thompson.
Steph Curry got 9 games where he had more than 10 3-pointers.
9. Oh my God.
He's so much better than
probably.
everybody.
Video game player.
Klay Thompson has 4 games where he got more than 10 threes. The last one is a little bit more difficult. He's more of a role player. He had all 3 of the times that he did it were earlier in this decade.
Earlier in this decade.
Well, earlier in the 2010s. Yeah, I said it right.
No, I was just thinking.
When you go back a little bit,
You
they
can
weren't shooting
give him a
threes.
good hint. You can give him the URI.
Oh, Coutinho Mobley?
No, that's a different stat.
That's a different stat.
That's a different stat.
Oh.
Kyrie had 10 threes in a game, and he scored the most points. He scored 55 in the game where he
How
had 10
about
threes. No, he's a role player. He was in one of the. I think he's the only player on this list to be in a dunk contest and a 3-point contest. He played on the Knicks. He played on the Cavs. He played on the Nuggets.
He would be on your chump list.
He would. You don't like him for sure.
I don't like him for sure.
Yeah.
He's not currently.
He's currently in the league.
Oh, he is,
He's
okay.
currently a role player.
He's currently a chump in the NBA.
Yeah. He's on a contending team.
Not Kyle.
Not Michael Beasley.
No.
Lots of tattoos.
He recently threw soup.
Oh, well,
J.R.
everybody doesn't like him.
Smith.
J.R. Smith had 3 games where he had more than 10 3-pointers.
Boy, Smith has been going to the hole a lot lately.
He's
He's
yeah.
actually been great.
Right,
Against
right,
the
yeah.
Heat, he was
Yeah, he said
slashing.
that's a conscious decision because he hasn't shot well.
All right, this game,
Wild.
this statistical category has more people in it. So 20-point, 20-rebound games. The reason I looked it up is because both
20 point, 20 rebound.
yeah,
games.
but both Dwight and Drummond had several of these. So there's 13 players who have done this 40 or more times.
Wow.
Wow.
So just try to name a couple of them.
Wows here.
Ever?
Ever.
Kareem.
Yes, Kareem did it 79 times.
79 times Kareem did that.
Yes.
Moses Malone.
Moses Malone did it 58 times.
Chamberlain must have did it an amazing amount of
Wilt
times.
Chamberlain, you want to guess how many times Wilt Chamberlain did it?
150.
So there's over 2,000 games where this has happened, and Wilt Chamberlain has the most.
Wow.
And it's more than 150.
More than 150 times. Because, I mean, he was averaging 50 points and 25 in a season.
That
He
happened
averaged
in a
50 points
season.
and 25 rebounds,
Yes.
so it's virtually every game.
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone did a couple times. Wilt Chamberlain had 315 2020
Oh,
games.
jeez. That's insane.
That's such a...
Dwight Howard had 56. In second place,
Hakeem must have had
Oh,
that.
Hakeem.
Hakeem had 44. Second place was Jerry Lucas, had 109 games.
I love Jerry Lucas.
And then third place was Nate Thurmond, who had 97 of such
Both
games.
good names.
To go to the other side of the similar comparative stat,
You know, Jerry Lucas used to go on the Tonight Show, and he had a mind that was able to memorize a telephone book.
That's weird.
I mean, he used to
I
do
don't
it. So
understand. Like
Johnny
phone
Carson,
numbers? What do you mean? He just remembers phone numbers?
He could memorize every phone number of every person in the phone book. And Johnny Carson, I am serious. Johnny Carson.
I don't understand.
Johnny Carson used to open the phone book,
It
go
said-
to the
it said,
guy's
"Whose
name,"
phone number is
and
this?
he would tell you what the number was.
That's remarkable. Are you
had
sure
an
he wasn't? He
amazing
didn't
mind.
have
He
a
had an
bug. He
amazing
didn't have a
mind.
bug in his ear telling him what was going on.
No. He was unbelievable intellect.
I wanted to go on Jeopardy.
All right, there's
There's memorization skill.
three
I'll
players.
double check that one
Yeah.
because it sounds so weird.
It sounds crazy. Three players in NBA history have attempted more than 50 field goals in a game.
Oh, wow.
Three
Players.
I'd say Wilt did.
Wilt did it
Chamberlain,
twice. He
of
attempted
course.
58 once and 50 another time. One was recent.
Kobe.
On his 60-point final game of his career against the
Yep.
Jazz, he shot 22 for 50. And the last was really early on. He maybe shot some free throws underhand.
Barry.
Rick Barry shot 17
That's
for
not that
50.
early.
That's hard to believe.
17 for 50 in a
That's
game.
so bad.
How would you not shut him down after the 40th?
I mean, they did. He only made 17. Last one we'll do, 20 points, 20 assists. There are 9 people who have done it more than
20
two
points,
times.
20 assists?
20 points, 20 assists.
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash did it twice. Scott Skiles did it twice.
Magic
Tiny
Johnson.
Archibald did it 3 times. Magic Johnson is the leader. He did it 14 times, including a 32, 11, and 20 game. Isaiah Thomas, the old one, did it 5 times. Westbrook has done it 3 times. Oscar did it 5 times. There's one other player who did it 10 times. And there's another player who I didn't think was going to be on this list who did it 6 times, who played for the Suns.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of wows in this.
Who played for the
stats.
Suns?
Yeah.
Was it?
He was athletic. I don't know much. His nickname is his initials.
Charles Barkley.
No. 20 assists. 20 assists.
Well, Barkley used to pass.
Not 20 times.
No, you're right.
Kevin Johnson.
Kevin Johnson, 6 times.
Kevin Johnson.
And then John Stockton had 10
Sacramento
times.
Mayor, right?
So I'll fool around more with that. We can
Wow,
spin
that
to
was,
the next
that was
thing.
cool. Thanks.
The funniest name on the 20 points, 20 rebounds was Happy Hairston. Who's Happy Hairston?
Oh, he was really good. He played for the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
He played for NYU when he was in high school and college. He was only about 6'5", 6'6", but he could jump through the
20
ceiling.
rebounds. Wow. Okay.
Could jump through the ceiling.
Tourney.
All right, the Tourney championship tonight.
Happy,
Michigan.
Happy Harry Heston.
Oh, congrats to Notre Dame, by the way.
Oh, two-
Flair for the dramatic.
2 fantastic
Unbelievable.
back-to-back game-winning
game
jumpers
winners.
by Arike. I don't know what her last name is. I just know her first name's Arike. But the second shot was just
Step back. How
Oh
did
my
she
God.
even get it up?
remarkable.
Never mind in.
Whatever. Yeah,
Swish.
fantastic. Good for Notre Dame for
Pretty
the victory. In terms of the men's tournament, Michigan prevailed over against Loyola after 37 minutes of exciting basketball. And then out of the gate, Villanova punched the Kansas in the mouth and absolutely dominated them in that entire game. I personally think that Villanova is going to take it to Michigan. But what do you guys
I
expect
hope
from the
so,
game
because
tonight?
then I win your cousin's second place in the
Aren't you
tournament.
already locked in?
I'm locked in for second place, but then I won't be tied.
Okay,
I don't want to tie. I
Yeah.
need
So we got a
Villanova
nice
to
story
win.
coming out of Michigan. There's that Duncan, is his name Duncan Robinson?
Yeah, 5th year.
He's from New Hampshire.
Okay.
And he'll become the only player in NCAA history to play in the championship game in Division. He went to Williams College, played in the Division III national championship game for Williams, transferred to Michigan. He was 5'6" as a freshman in high school, grew to 6'5" by the time he was a senior,
Yeah.
and tonight he'll be playing in the
pretty cool.
finals as a Michigan.
He's
for
like a
Division I.
90-something% free throw shooter. And it looked like he missed a free throw on purpose, so his
Very
team would
interesting.
score
He's the only
69
local
points.
guy, only guy in the area. I have one thought on that thing there, and I know I'm way off the wall on this. I am in a lot of things. As much as I liked Villanova's performance, I thought it continues to reinforce to me the problem with the three. And if they were 13 for 26 and they scored 39 out of their 45 points with threes, I'm saying it's time to do something about that. And then any team that's shooting 40% from the three.
Do you want them to move back the
back it
line?
up?
Do you want them to move back the line? How do you solve that?
Okay.
I think that would only
Here's
help Villanova
Here's what
more.
I'm throwing out there.
Okay, let's hear
The
it.
three becomes worth 2.5.
Whoa, that would be so
This
confusing.
is-
No, you can't have half-point games.
It
would be 72.5 to 73.
But bugs me to
couldn't
no
handle
end.
that.
Bugs me to no end. There's a 6-point game is a 2-possession game. At 2.5, it becomes a 3-possession game. I mean, they're showing all these stats all the time on the Celtics of percentage of winning and what the final scores are going to be. They're always showing 109.5. What's the big deal? Matt thought the worst thing about it is the scoreboards would all have to be changed. But to me, it makes sense because you can't just keep shooting higher and higher from the three, and 40% is too high. So they have to do something to lower that percentage. They can move the line out, or they can give you less value for the shot.
But doesn't moving the line out just make more sense?
But you can only move it so far in the pros. Listen, in the
Imagine
pros,
the commentators. Villanova's on a 14.5 to 2.5 run.
well, they could, the score could be more on 67.5 to 64.
I think if you push it back, it's just going to help Villanova even more because they're so.
Yeah,
they're
pushing
NBA
back,
ready.
in the
pushing
NBA, you
back the
can't
line.
move it back.
They got
No,
because
but I'm
This is
saying
right.
we're talking about college. So I'm saying in college, if you move back the line,
They got to.
it would
They
only-
have to.
But wouldn't it just
It's a 3-foot difference.
wouldn't it accentuate the teams that do it, and wouldn't it help them and hurt everyone else?
Especially with Loyola, with two guys that are like shorter than 6 feet tall.
And I know it's bizarre, but I'm thinking that the 2.5 solves a lot of problems.
Because I agree.
The value
I
is
agree in
really,
some
it's
sorts.
not 3. You should not be getting 3 for that. That's my point. You shouldn't be getting 3 for that shot. You should be getting less than 3 because you're making too over high percentage. It's too easy of a shot.
We're putting this in your zany box of
I know.
This is zany.
But I don't think. Well, I think you're right. Moving the line out, they're just going to shoot from farther and farther.
So
out.
what about pickup basketball? Do you hate pickup basketball? Because when you play pickup basketball, 2-point shot is 1.
Yeah.
A 3-point shot is 2.
Yeah, it's
so
twice
it's
as valuable.
double.
Twice as
So you
valuable.
must just hate pickup basketball.
I like pickup basketball. I understand, but it's more to move the game along. You're playing the 15, so that you've got that score to kind of. You're working with that. You don't have a clock, and that's
All right,
different.
Logan, who you got in the game tonight?
I think blowout. No blowout.
I think
20
blowout.
points.
I
I'm
think
going
blowout
with
too.
Michigan. I like
Really?
I like Bayline. I like his story.
They
I think
barely beat
he's never
Loyola.
won.
Roots for coaches.
I understand. I know that. I was wondering in that Loyola-Michigan game whether it was Michigan's 3-point defense that took a Loyola or whether it was Loyola tactically deciding to drive the ball to the hoop because they figured Michigan was going to try. But Michigan is a strong defender of the 3. And
Yeah,
that
they
could
defend the
really
three well.
help them against Villanova.
defend the
that they're
three
a
well.
strong
They defended
defender
full
of the 3.
court. I mean, their defensive adjustments at halftime were amazing. I think Michigan was losing by 7 to Loyola at halftime.
Right.
And they were playing. They were not
And then-
playing
10
well.
minutes to go.
And then all of a
10
sudden, the first 5 minutes of the second half, I think Loyola turned the ball over 9 times.
Right.
Yeah, they
You
did.
could just tell that.
Bayline
that
is a great coach,
Right.
but
Maybe they were going to turn
Villanova.
into a
You could
pumpkin
just
soon
tell that
later.
Loyola couldn't sustain that strong of a play for a full
weren't
game
capable.
against Michigan,
They
in
needed to
addition
play,
to Michigan
I
not
would
playing
be
that poorly for the
stunned
full
if
game.
Villanova lost tonight.
I'm saying Villanova's going to win by
Stunned.
18+ points.
The favorite is one of the
I'll
highest
bet
spreads
you-
ever. The spread's 6.
I'll bet you $2.5.
I would definitely take Michigan.
$2.5 if Villanova wins.
Hey, I'm getting to the. I'm going to owe you $5 a little
Yeah,
bit.
Jalen Brown, he's shooting
good.
over 36.
38.
Yeah, that's right. He's looking like he's going to be good.
He's
Yeah.
shooting his free throws well now too.
All right,
He's pretty good on game winners too.
Oh yeah, that was a beautiful shot. Love Jalen. Shout out Jalen.
All right, what do we got? What do we
I
got?
invited him to my wedding on
I'm liking
Instagram.
Lock and
What do you want to do, Fultz or Bazley?
Fultz.
Yeah, Markel Fultz. All right, Markel Fultz is back.
Why are they playing him?
What do you mean? They're playing.
I mean, come on. Why? They took McConnell's minutes away. They were fine without him. They didn't need. I know. The thing is, you want to see what he's got and all that stuff. But he was so out of sync that he headbutted Embiid.
No. Basketball move going for the loose ball.
Basketball
Not his
move,
fault.
top of the key,
No,
and
cut,
a
no.
very routine handoff. Nobody
Circumstantial.
ever butts heads on a 2-player handoff like that.
It was the loose ball. They were both going for the ball. It was circumstantial. It was not his fault. All right, so
He should be playing.
Markel
There's no way.
Fultz, if
There's
he's
no
healthy,
reason
should
for him to
absolutely be
play.
playing because he was the #1 overall pick in this 2000.
What does that got to do with it if you're not?
Because he has
prepared to
acumen
play?
of a future
they-
star in the league
and they-
before him playing. He should
political correctness.
he should come in because per 36 in the 4 games that he's coming back, he's averaging 16, 7, and 12 assists a game. He's playing very well.
Who is?
Fultz.
He's playing about 14, 15 minutes a game. He scored 10, 4, and 4.
Do you know what that means? That's great. Are you joking? Playing 14
No,
minutes,
I'm not
averaging
joking.
10, 4, and 4.
It's not great.
Averaging 10, 4, and 4 a game with 12 minutes a game. That's really good. He's really, really
He hasn't
good.
even taken a 3.
Yes,
So
because his shot is still not
yes,
there.
Yes, because his shot is still bad.
Okay, you need
But
to
he
watch
still
more of
makes
the
a
Philadelphia
difference.
games.
He doesn't deserve minutes. on
Yes,
that
he
team.
does.
No, he doesn't.
He's better than McConnell
He doesn't.
already. He's better than McConnell already.
contributed to that season.
And
the whole
Fultz is
season
contributing
long.
as well. Fultz is contributing. He's adding a dimension that McConnell did not have offensively. As a pick and roll threat, Fultz has looked incredible in the short minutes that he's been there. He has a pizzazz and a fire that team did not have in terms of
Wait
a
till
creator.
next That team was all set.
Exactly. Wait till next year.
Let's see what he's got next year.
I think Fultz
They're
is
just throwing him out there because Tatum's played for what they want to show the fans that they got something with this guy.
They do.
And there's no time with 10 minutes and their playoff run or whatever it is.
Did you
to
see his
get out
dunk?
there and experiment
Did
with
you
a
see
player?
Did you see his
and
dunk?
see what he's got?
Did you
There's
see
no
his-
reason
did you
for
see
it.
I
his
don't
dunk?
understand. What exactly has he done that's so wrong in your eyes?
He's
Since
hit
his-
the rotation, and I really think
But
that
they're better for
I
it.
don't think I hold him accountable for Embiid.
Okay, so you
I
are
really think that
you
was,
are
that
you are
was him out of sync.
You're
on that play.
inaccurately blaming him for
I think he was out of sync. I
accidental
don't think he's in the-
fluke.
Because it's a fluke play.
You're inaccurately blaming him for an accidental injury to their best player. So that's okay. You have a wrong
I think he's
wrong
out of
perspective.
sync. I don't think he's in sync with what's going on the floor.
I
because
think he
it's
is.
been so long
If
since
you
he's played.
if you see his chemistry with Covington, if you see his chemistry with Redick, if you see his chemistry with Ersan Ilyasova, if you see his chemistry with Bellinelli, he has acumen.
Bellinelli should be getting more.
They
more-
don't play
he
the same
shouldn't be-
position.
He shouldn't be taking any of Bellinelli or McConnell's minutes.
They should take some of McConnell's
No.
minutes because he's more of an offensive threat, and on that second unit they have
McConnell
other defensive reputable players.
Almost Simmons perfectly. He's played real well the whole season as a backup point guard.
I think that what they're doing is they're staggering Fultz and Simmons because as of right now, Fultz is still technically a non-shooter, and I think they're doing a great job. And come playoffs, Fultz isn't going to be playing that many minutes. He's only going to be playing 10 minutes a game, and that's perfect.
There was no
because what he
reason
offers
to-
in 10 minutes a game.
What sense does that make?
Because
for
Markelle
somebody that's
Fultz,
not even-
because
he's
in
not
a
even-
playoff
he's not
matchup
even
when
gonna
Van
play.
Fleet is in the game, Markelle Fultz can go and score on Van Fleet, and TJ McConnell cannot. And that adds a new dynamic to that team that they did not have before. And in terms of their second unit, they needed that new
I
aspect.
think Bellinelli would score equally off the bench as what Fultz and probably
You
much
think
more.
you give Bellinelli the ball and pick and roll against Van
Not
Fleet
pick
and
and roll, but he'll
Siakam and
score
he
as
can
many
play?
points off the bench, and McConnell was fine.
I think you're far off. Logan, what have you seen from Markelle Fultz?
I mean, I haven't watched enough of him, but there's no way you don't play him. His future talent.
There's 10 games left in the season.
It makes so
Why
much
wouldn't
played at all?
And this is
He's got like mental issues
That's
with
a-
how he's proposing
right.
the
That's
game.
a perfect example
Why
of
would
why
you
to play him.
play
If he has a mental
help
issue, get
him.
rid of that mental
help
What
issue.
if he started? I just
To
don't
help
see any
him.
purpose to playing
You
him
not
at all.
playing him when he's ready
Would
to
make
play
it worse.
is going to hurt him
Would make it
more.
worse.
It's going to hurt him more.
Because there's only 10
right
games
now,
left.
Right now,
If
it's
there were
perfect.
30 games left, fine. 10
No.
games left is not when you do
Why?
this.
You're playing with borrowed money right now. Why not?
You're not playing with borrowed money. The season's on the line. They're
The
preparing
season's
for
not on
the
the line. They have their best
They
player
haven't
out.
established their position in the playoffs yet. They're in a bunch of teams that are going to be interchangeable.
They're either
right
going to be
now.
a 4 or 5 seed. If they win out, they can be a 3 seed. I think that they're playing well. Simmons has handled
That's
the
my
pressure.
point, Shay, is that they were playing
they have
really
the
well.
easiest
That team
schedule
was
in the last 10
together.
games.
That
It just
team did
makes
not
also-
need Fultz.
It's
They
not,
didn't need him
Okay,
at
it's not.
all.
It's not about needing him. It's about it being a no-risk play, putting him in here with high-reward situation.
Changes your
of
rotation.
Him working out. And
Why
him-
would you want to mess with your rotation
Because
when you're going well?
it's-
They had won 10 games in a row. Why do you want to mess with your rotation? Why would you want to do that?
Because
Why
they're-
would you want to mess with Bellinelli and
Because
McConnell's
they're
minutes when you won 10 or 11
Because they're
games in a row?
3-1 in the games since he's come back, and they played better. And I think they have more flow, and their system makes more sense with him than TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell is an Energizer bunny, and I like TJ McConnell, but their offense has flaws. And when they start playing minutes with McConnell and Simmons together, it's not as potent, I think, as Fultz and Simmons together. And those haven't happened in strong minute counts yet, but Fultz clearly adds a dynamic
I think
and
they
a
had-
ceiling of something that they did not have before.
They
And I
had
think it's obvious.
Embiid and they had Simmons. They had reached a level of play that was beyond expectation, or at least equal to the biggest expectations of that team. They were right where they wanted to be. They didn't need to mess with it.
Okay, so tell me now,
There was no need to mess with it.
if they play a first-round series against the Indiana Pacers and Simmons and Embiid have a bad game and Markelle Fultz scores 20 points against Corey Joseph, are you going to turn back your statements? Because I think that's very reasonable that could happen.
I don't
because
think
these
it's
are young
reasonable.
guys that they're depending on.
I don't think
and
it's reasonable, Shane.
Why is that not reasonable?
Because he hasn't scored 20 points altogether yet.
Yeah, because he's only played 13 minutes. He's
not playing more than 13.
Did you not hear what I said? He's averaging 16, 7, and 12
That's
per
a
36.
bogus stat.
I don't know if you can talk about
work at all.
reasonable. This is an unreasonable evaluation of what's happening here. Like he said, they're 3-1 since they've given him some time. They're not giving him a whole bunch of run. They're not affecting the game flow that
They're
much.
affecting their rotation.
I don't
No, they're
think
not.
so.
The only
I
person
think
that is
this a good thing
sacrificing
for
minutes
him.
is TJ McConnell. That's it.
I like T.J. McConnell.
Yeah, but Fultz is
not as
better.
good as him.
Fultz is
Right
better.
now, he's
Right
not as good
Fultz
as
is
him.
better. Right
Fultz is
now.
a rookie who hasn't played at all. That's got a lot of talk about baggage.
I
I
think
think
we
we
can
can spin it. I
baggage
think we
going
can
on.
spin
He's
it.
a man.
I think we can spin it.
I can't believe that it was a lot of disagreement
Yes,
on
good.
that.
All right.
I thought that would be. I would be agreed with on
I'm
that.
just surprised.
And
you
it's
haven't-
3-1 against
I'm
me.
surprised you haven't thought. He looked great. I think he's looked awesome. He had a fast break dunk over a small forward. He's had crossover step backs.
I
His
have
spin
never
move-
seen
his
anybody
spin
look
moves-
as bad as he looked before. I mean,
3-1
he was so
against
bad.
him.
This is like in the beginning of the
He
year.
hasn't
for
overcome
Philly.
that yet. He hasn't
3
overcome
wins for
that.
Philly.
All right, an interesting,
Basley's very
an
interesting.
in-
Basley's
3-1.
very
an
interesting.
interesting test
Very
case and
interesting.
potential pioneer for the future
Pioneer.
of G League basketball. Darius Bazley, a former recruit, a 5-star recruit, number
Chump.
9 rated
Why?
ESPN
For
in
doing it? Do you think he's a chump
2018
for doing it?
to Syracuse. He's 6'8"
He's a
forward
chump
from
for
Ohio.
not even talking to his coach.
He did talk
Who,
to the coach. I
Bazley?
think there's a lot of things that whatever. So
I mean, for the Syracuse
he
coaches?
decommitted from Syracuse. He's going to the G League where he can make a maximum of 26 grand.
I know,
But
19
but
to
he
start.
but he leaves opportunity open for him to be able to get shoe deals and endorsements.
Yeah, that would-
He
which
played in
is
the
gonna be in the
He
cards.
played in the McDonald's All-American game. He looked good. He's not.
I like him.
He's not
I
the
like
best
him.
player from this incoming class, but
He's very good.
He's up there. And he's got an acumen. He
What's
had
his
11
height?
and 7 in that
6'6"?
game. He's
Bigger,
6'8".
bigger.
He's
6'8".
6'8".
He's long.
He's a swing.
I love lefties.
He's got a weird form though. His form is a little funky.
Yeah, he's a lefty score.
But he's athletic. I mean,
I like his handle.
In terms of the other player comparisons for people who have decommitted from college and chosen to either take a leave of absence for a year or go away. I mean, we've seen Terrence Ferguson go to France. We've seen Emmanuel Mudiay go to China.
Yep.
We've seen Brandon Jennings go to Italy.
Yep.
I think this is a good move for him. I think it's
Yeah.
a way to test the waters with this. And I think he's a perfect player. He's not a top guy, but he's a top 15 person with enough attention on him where people are going to pay attention to what happens to him.
I think this move probably helps get rid of the
Yes.
one and done
Yes, it
thing
does.
too, which is good.
It's completely
But
up
I
to
just
the
don't
NBA
like the way
whether-
he did it. I don't like the way he executed it. I don't like that Jim Boeheim found out on Twitter
Yeah.
that he was doing this.
I also
That's
think
not
that
fair.
I think
I
that's
agree.
overstated. I don't know. I think that
I agree.
I mean, he screwed Syracuse.
I mean he's 18.
But
It's-
what's kind of strange is when you're looking at this, that he goes and plays, and he has not been drafted by the NBA yet.
Right.
So that when he goes and plays, would he have been better at Syracuse, averaging 15, 17 a game, with all the TV exposure he got, and getting to the Final Four, getting into the tournament, and everybody seeing him, than going to a G League team at 17, 18 years old and averaging 5 points a game, and nobody seeing him?
But I don't think that's necessarily going to be what happens. I think he has the potential to come in and to be a top
He might
15
be.
player in the G League
He might
already.
be.
With the acumen that he has and the skill set that it looks like he has, I mean, you think the
Yep.
number 9 prospect in this year's draft class, suppose Wendell Carter went to the G League. Wendell Carter could play pretty well against the majority of the G League
It
players.
looks like it, but
And
he's
that-
also a man. He's also probably 23, you know. Well, that's the difference there.
Well, I mean,
He's
not-
more
not-
prepared.
There's a lot of logistical issues
Yes, there is.
of this as well, because there's a lot of people who might go right to the G League who won't ever see a minute of NBA play.
Right.
And they're going to take away from people who are developmentally trying to get into the NBA.
That's why it's weird.
That makes it kind of weird, and that's a slippery slope, I think.
Except, you know, if you want to play for the Red Claws, you can go try out. They have an open tryout for that team.
Right.
So, well, that anybody in the country can go try out for the main Red Claws. It's
We
not
need him
the
for
Celtics.
volleyball, though.
Yeah.
The Celtics are not. Don't have anything to do with who
that's the
tries out
problem.
for that team.
That's the problem. Darius Bazley will not be under team control, and that's why I think
Yeah.
kind of what you're
So he
touching,
can choose his team
kind
to
of
try
what-
out for.
Kind of what you're touching on is why would an organization, if it's the Maine Red Claws or whatever, the Santa Cruz Warriors, why would they give this guy light of day when they have a person in their system, in their organization that they're trying to pump out to be able to churn up, to give that two-way contract to give to them because they can't give him a two-way contract until he reaches a certain
year,
amount of years.
Right now, they'll do it because it's a story.
If
Right,
Sean
yeah.
Miller
Bring-
and Rick
bring
Pitino
tickets.
and whoever can find a way to pay guys $150,000, you can be damn sure that the Boston Celtics can find a way
Yeah.
to pay this guy $150,000
Right.
through a sneaker
That's why-
company.
that's why I thought
and
so
that
Syracuse
really
is on the
distorts
right
things
side
because
of
you're going to
history.
end up with guys in the G League that are making a couple $100,000. He is not playing for $19,000
What do you think
a year.
about
Right, so it doesn't that means that a ton of people are going to do this. Like
think
a lot, like
Well, there's probably how many players in the country that are actually have the potential to do it. There's not that, just like there's not that many one and done.
Well, the only people that will be recognized are people probably in the top 100 that are recognized in terms of recruitment, and this is the first person that we've seen of this
It's the right thing to do.
high regard coming to this. But I think he's going to open the floodgates.
I say there's.
I think he is too.
There's yeah, everybody's going to do it. What do you
Because
mean?
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying. I'm saying exactly that. I'm agreeing with that. I'm saying he's going to do it because what's so stupid, and whether it's Boeheim or Krzyzewski or whatever it is Marvin Bagley. He probably took basket weaving 1, 2, and 3 in the first semester. Got his D's.
Oh, for sure.
Got his D's.
That was
and
like
at the semester break,
history of rock
and
and
after the
roll.
semester end, never had to
good
go
one.
to another class.
Right.
So once January came, he doesn't care what his grades are the second semester. So that's such a scam that it should be open to, and the coaches are part of that.
I
That's
think
ridiculous
that,
what they're doing.
He might be a really good basket weaver now. though.
Yeah,
It might
that's true.
be. It
I
might
think
have
in the timeline of the relationship between college basketball, the G League as a developmental league for the NBA, and the NBA's relationship with one and done, I think that this is going to be a linchpin in moving forward for how they change
But
the process.
it is all in the NBA's. It's in their court.
Yes.
They have the call on it. The NCAA does not have the call. The NBA, it's in their bylaws or whatever it is. They're the ones that have to change this. Why won't they do it?
Final thought on Bazley before we sign off.
Well, what is after the 1 year he enters the draft?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's just
Yeah.
the way it works.
Yeah, so we'll see
Right
who
now
gets
it's the way
drafted.
it works.
I mean, we'll see. He came in. He was supposed to be a top 10 pick next year. We'll see.
I think
just
it's
do
going to
it.
end up like baseball. You're going to have varying levels of G League teams.
Yeah,
now.
we'll
I
see.
think you're going to have like AAA, AA,
Yep.
single A.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Hopefully the game is exciting and not a blowout tonight, but we'll
Hey, we got the
we'll
Red
see.
Sox
Who
going
knows?
too, you know,
Yeah,
so-
well, yeah.
Red Sox in
Baseball.
first place.
Thank you for joining us
Go
on My
Bills.
Wheelhouse. Until next time.